So we got a YoyoDyne slipper, pretty much the same thing as a Sigma and a couple other brands of slipper clutches. The main thing to recognize here is this is the RR version or RS version. And what makes this different from the base model slipper clutch, which does not come with a basket, is it uses the standard 7 plates. This uses extra 8 plates. And it has a basket. But what makes this one even better than the other 8 plate version is this has steel plates mounted to the pressure plate and the hub. And this is something they should have done from the get-go 20 years ago, because these things wear out. You could wear one out in a weekend, but typically, it could be easily a season. But now they have these steels on there, so they won't wear out as fast. Very nice basket. Now, the basket doesn't come with the primary gear on the back, so you need to take your primary gear off your stock basket. So you need to take your primary gear off of your stock clutch basket. So first thing, we gotta remove this clip. Whoa, okay, just sprung off there. Clip off. Maybe this gear, we'll see. We'll see if it'll come off, I don't know. Whoa, okay, that's off. And then there's a little key in here. That comes off. Now, there are these 3 pins. Now, these are pressed in from the factory, and then they're stamped or hammered or whatever, mushroomed. So you need to either drill off this head or take a grinder and flatten them, and then you use a press and you press it out.
Holy.
So now on the press, I'm just using a socket. You need to make sure that the socket is smaller than the pin that you're pressing through. So we'll get her in place up there. And repeat 3 times. Alright, so once you got your pins pressed out of your primary gear, move the springs over in the order they were, in the exact location. This is how they fit. This one's a little stuck on that. And that comes with new screws, so we will Loctite these and probably about 20 foot-pound will do it. All right, so I did 15 foot-pound on the bolts. Anything more than 15, I started stripping them. So that's what we're at. So we just got to put on the last gear. Don't forget your key. That goes in wherever the little hole is. Okay, so next step, take off your cover. I already have the coolant drained and the oil drained because I'm just doing a bunch of other stuff to the bike right now. And if you have a first gen, you don't even need to worry about draining the coolant because it has a separate clutch cover. But second gen, third gen, Gladius, we have to pop off this whole thing. Cover off, got your pressure plate out. This little lock washer here should be bent up, so normally what I do is I take a flathead and I tap it and bend it out a little bit, and then I'll take, this is a 27mm socket, I'll put the socket over it and hit it, and that'll bend it flat, and I just hit that with an impact and it should loosen right up. Alright. Because I only have one hand I'm using right now. So what goes in the back of the stock basket, it's a collar, spacer, whatever you want to call it. You do need that in the new one. And then it has to line up. Don't just like smack it on there. You gotta make sure it lines up with the oil gear down here. So you have to spin that oil gear, then make sure your primary gears are lined up. And then also, you need the little spacer that is separate from the pressure plate, not the pressure plate, hub in the basket. Now this nut gets torqued to about 75 foot-pound. When you do that, when it is tight, you want to make sure this still spins really freely. If there's any drag at all, it's too tight. So there's a chance that maybe you can over tighten this. When it comes to your clutch plates now, again, like I said before, this uses one extra plate than what it does stock. And I also believe, regardless if you have a first gen or second gen, it comes with this basket, which is a second gen, third gen Gladius plate, where the first gen uses a different plate. And then the slipper clutches are also a little more sensitive to your stack height, which is basically, thickness of your plates. Now, luckily, mine only have 1 weekend on them, so they're pretty much new, and you should probably start with new plates as well. But I got some pretty fresh ones, so we're oil them and put them in. While you're putting in your clutch plates, just remember this: for your steels, there is one edge that is more round than the other. You want the rounder edge to go in face first. That way, when you push your clutch out and the plates are coming back in, that smooth edge actually just has a better feel of you, like when you're releasing the clutch, of how that, better feel of it engaging. With your clutch actuator, before you go and put the pressure plate on, you need to come around, if you didn't do this to start with, to your clutch actuator, and this is loosened. There's a 10mm nut in there, and then you'll take a flathead and make sure this backed out pretty far, and then we'll go in and adjust this after we have our pressure plate on. And with your clutch springs, these are made to be used with CBR springs, clutch springs, CBR 600RR. So I think they're all the same from like 2003 and up. But it's a bit stiff if you use all 6, so we're actually going to use 3 CBR springs and 3 SV springs. And then the 6 bolts on this are 7 foot-pound, around there. Once you got that plate all on there and your bolts tightened, last step is to your clutch actuator. Now this is something you should do daily or at least once a weekend with a slipper clutch, is readjust this. They're very sensitive to. So you do is you spin it until it gets snug. I get my screwdriver in there, snug, and then with a stock clutch, you do a quarter turn. I like to do just like a little bit more than a quarter with the slipper. I just backed out more. And tighten it down. And make sure you bend this tab in, that locks it into place. And then fill your clutch out. That quite isn't tight enough, so I might actually do a quarter on this one to get the feel that I'm looking for. It's our free play, and that's fully engaged. Enjoy. Well, you would enjoy, except I'm dumb. Well, you can still enjoy if you're smarter than me. I buttoned it all up, put oil, water, everything in it, and realized I forgot a key little safety feature inside on that main nut that holds the clutch hub on. I forgot to bend the lock washer on the nut, so I have to take this all off, bend it, put it all back together, and then you can enjoy. What I'm talking about is this washer here. You'll take just some channel locks, try to grab it. It's gonna be hard for me to do with holding the camera. You just bend over the lip, and that locks that washer, or the nut. Now you can enjoy.